Yeah, but you just do a hard cut in, we're all laughing, and then it's like, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So anyway.
welcome to the.
Yeah, anyway.
Anyway, enough of the funny business. Time to get down to the serious stuff. Hey.
And that's the perfect way to say welcome to the show. The Shooter, Kick-Ass Ian Skinner. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you guys? You doing all good? You know, in spite of the circumstance, obviously.
Let's give that cliche answer that everyone gives at the moment. As good as we can be doing. If I had a penny for every time we've said that on an interview recently, I'd have enough to buy another microphone for Jamie. But yeah, I'm all right, man. Thank you.
That's good. It's good to hear. Everyone, you know, especially with the new stuff. Like as soon as like everything like comes into play, and you're like, okay, the ball's rolling. Everyone's kind of getting back into it. Day of Wrestle Kingdom as well, and it's like, nah, locking it down. I'm like, oh, well, at least I've got some wrestling to look forward to.
The best part was the Day of Wrestle Kingdom, aka my birthday. We went into lockdown on my birthday. I was like, well, I wasn't going to do anything for it anyway. So to be fair, I didn't feel too bad because I was like, well, at least now I've got an excuse to do nothing for my birthday. So.
You see, think
ahead.
Hey, listen, we might get back to the pubs by April. You never know. You know, fingers crossed. It's just a nightmare out there, man. At the minute, it's just. Like you said, we seem to suddenly start doing better, and then something else pops up. It's like you just don't want to give us a break. It's one thing after another.
Exactly.
It's just
there was the classic meme of I think there's the new meme of like there's a guy being like and an old man coming at him with a knife, and it's like me recovering after March 2020, and then the guy with the knife was March 2021.
Yeah.
It's creeping up on us.
That's what always got me when everyone was all going about, oh yeah, I can't wait for 2020 to be over. I'm like, what the fuck do you think 2021's going to be like? You know, like midnight on the 1st of December, COVID clocks out. Like,
no, at midnight, Ashton Kutcher comes out and goes, oh guys, you should have seen your faces. Oh, yeah.
There's a camera over there. There's a camera over there.
Start stabbing everyone up. It's like, no, your gran was in on it. No, like seriously, like should have seen your face at the funeral, man.
It was all just one episode of Punk'd.
Yeah.
It's just that's what always got me. I was like, oh yeah, 2020 will be over soon. I'm like, yeah, 2021's going to start exactly the same way 2020 is going to end. That's what always got me. It's like you do realise this shit's not going to just suddenly stop. COVID ain't going to look at his clock and say, well, lads, it's a minute past midnight. I guess we're done.
Well, it's been a year, so we best get going. Yeah.
On the topic, it's side tangent, and get ready for a bunch of side tangents. The one thing I want to do in my life is I want to host like a hidden camera show, but I don't want to be involved in any of the kind of like the actual mechanics of it. I just want to be the guy that comes out and goes and like daps everyone up because for some reason that's the universal sign of it's just a prank, just doing the classic like yeah, good bro, oh you're good man. It's me, it's Ian, and people are like, oh, what? On the TV.
It's like those YouTube pranksters nowadays where they'll go up to someone, pick up the phone while they're on it, smash it on the floor, and then go, oh, it's a prank, and everyone just goes, oh, you got me. Oh. All right. Well, I don't know. I don't know why that was ever a trend, like trying to be a YouTube prankster, because I can't imagine a worse job apart from podcaster.
Well, actually, on the topic of podcast, you know, a group of 4 men is actually called a podcast. That's
Is that exclusive to?
No. You just say something with enough confidence, and people will go.
It's kind of true when it comes to British wrestling fans, though, I think. Like, have you ever met a British wrestling fan without a podcast?
I mean, there's been the people who want to start the podcast. I mean, here's the thing. At a certain point, I was a British wrestling. I actually got into wrestling. This is a great tangent because I was doing a podcast with a guy, and he was mad into it. So I was a fan when I was young. Kind of fell out of it in high school because I started liking Slipknot and girls. So, you know, Rey Mysterio took a back seat for a while. And then I met this guy when I was like 17, 18, and we all just started hanging out and we started doing a podcast. And he'd do like a weekly just like catch up of what's going on with wrestling. And I'd be like, oh, sick, is Kane still doing stuff? And he's like, oh, yeah, he's a tag team champion. I'm like, oh, wow, that's mint. WrestleMania 30 comes around and he's like, oh, do you want to watch it? I'm like, oh, sick. And then like later I'm doing like college and uni stuff, like doing interviews across the place. I'm in Glasgow and he's like, well, if you're in Glasgow, there's a show on. I've got tickets if you want to get one. I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Live wrestling show would be cool. And it was my first kind of like live ICW show, Shug's House Party #1. And
Wow.
I was encapsulated right off the bat. I don't think it's the first match because I've watched it back since. I always used to say, oh, it's the first match on. But it was Kaylee Ray. And she like dived on the barricade and like did a flip off of it or something. And I was there at the barriers holding it because like, whoa, oh God, I don't want her to fall. And I was just like caught up in the moment because just the physicality, the energy, the chaos, it was just like, wow, this is mint. How do I do this?
So it was live wrestling which really made you think, I need to do this.
And Kaylee Ray. And Kaylee Ray. There we go, man. There we go. Just before you said that as well, I mean, you're a big music guy as well then. I heard you mention Slipknot, hence Jim Root, which I just realised, obviously number 4,
Yeah.
Root, yeah.
I made that email when I was like 10. So like I've attached so much stuff to it that I'm like, well, I can't get rid of it. So now I've just got an email that's just someone else's name, which is funny. I once got a reference from like a landlord through that email, and it's like, hey, could you possibly give a reference for Ian? Ian's like, he's going to be letting flat, and I'm like, this is just me. It's just the email name. It's
You're not
me.
actually messaging Jim Root.
Yeah. I could have given myself a sick CV. It's like, oh hey, yeah, no, he's a sick tenant. By the way, listen to the new Slipknot album. It's mint.
Dude, I think that's a great email name. I mean, come on, Jim Root. It's perfect. I love it. Don't ever change
Never get rid of it.
Never, ever. But before we talk some wrestling as well, I did notice that you're also an affiliate of that Superkicks brand. Those two dashingly handsome fellows that run Superkicks. That we know.
Is he?
I mean,
I would wear the jacket, but it would make so much noise. I've got the Superkicks jacket. You'll be able to see it advertised on my Instagram. You can use a promo code SKNR for 10% off all apparel and merchandise from Superkicks.
Such an idiot. I was just about to say that the jacket makes noises in like it's really crunchy or something. Like what is it? Because it's loud, or what do you mean?
I mean, hey. Let's talk. It's noisy for the camera, but it's also noisy in the sense in which I go. And I'm a very animated person, so it'd be like listening to a podcast, but someone's just like eating a bag of crisps, but they're not eating it. They're just moving the bag, and it'd be like the opposite of ASMR. It'd be like just you're trying to sit there in bed. Listen to your favorite Scottish pro wrestling goblin, just like there, and you're just like, what? Why is someone just moving a tent in my ears right now? Guess what? It would have been me, but I thought about that. I saw that reality. I'm like Thanos or Doctor Strange. I've seen all the realities in which this podcast happens. This is probably the best one. I think the one where I'm dressed as Spider-Man is a bit better. But I say something really off-color about Japanese wrestling that I'm like, nah, I should probably, not say that Misawa looks better in blue, because he looks better in green. And that's the take. I don't know why I pointed at the microphone. I feel
you are one of the most animated, but that's good because this has already been a fun podcast and we're only 12 minutes in.
And we've not even talked about wrestling yet.
Yeah,
but...
Without sounding biased, dude, you look very good in that Superkicks jacket as well. I mean, I just want to throw that out there. It's
the colour really suits you.
It's a lovely colour on you. It really is. And I know those two guys who run Super Kicks, you know, they're cool guys, very handsome guys. And I know they appreciate what you're doing. They do.
I just want to say, while we're on the subject of that, Superkicks did sponsor recently the SWA Podcast Awards, and you did win one.
I don't know how I did. Literally, like it was like I got the most viewed or most popular like podcast episode. Literally no idea how that happened. Mainly for the simple fact that it doesn't have many views in comparison to everyone else. But I guess I'm entertaining.
You're a draw. That's what I'm hearing.
I'm a podcast draw.
Yeah, as soon as we saw you won that award, we were like, we need to get Skinner on the show now.
Get those views up. But dude, let's. I guess we best talk a little bit of wrestling. I guess then, obviously, because you know we're a wrestling podcast. But I mean, you've touched on obviously Kaylee Ray was a deciding factor for you. Anybody else influential on your career apart from obviously Kaylee Ray being the big deciding factor, being there live?
Yeah, so I say there's kind of like different defining moments in my kind of like wrestling memories. My earliest one, and it's my earliest wrestling memory ever. And you know, I'll say the matchup, and then I'll say the gimmick of the matchup, and you'll be like, "What the? Why is that?" Yeah. So Bubba Ray Dudley versus Tajiri.
Okay.
Classic.
But they're both dressed as Santa.
Yeah.
That's my on a Raw, and it was like a Sky One, like, you know, Saturday morning kind of like I woke up. My sister's like pals used to watch the wrestling on the Sky One, and I was just down there, and for some reason, just Tajiri in a Santa outfit doing the poison mist, just like it just had me like, oh my god, this is amazing. Then like Eddie Guerrero in the not late 2000s, but like mid 2000s, and then more recently, after kind of like being inspired by kind of like by ICW and like Kaylee Ray and just like the insanity that, I mean, let's call it what it is, the insanity that is ICW. I then started training, and whilst training, there was my friend, he was like, "Oh, there's a show in Japan, and there's a big match. It's a guy called AJ Styles." I'm like, "AJ Styles, Wrestling Channel, TNA. Used to love that guy. The way he hit a corner clothesline just always had me just like going, whoa, he's like a superhero."
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, he's in this really cool match against this guy. I'm like, oh, and then I looked at it, it's like, oh, Shinsuke Nakamura. I think I watched like a clip of him last year when he faced this guy in white and blue. That was really cool. He's like, yeah, you should watch it. And we watched the show together. And it was the match before AJ and Nakamura. And it's these two guys. They just come down to ring. No nonsense. And I'm just like, I'm eating some meatballs or spaghetti or whatever. And then all of a sudden the bell goes and these guys just start duking it out. It's Shibata and Ishii. And there's a moment where I'm just eating. And I think it's like he did a snapmare and kicked him in the back. And I'm like, what the? And then he stands up and he sits down and he takes it, and I'm like, yo, what is happening right now? Because it was unlike any like wrestling I'd seen before, or at least like in modern time. I used to be a fan of like old Ring of Honor stuff, but I think I watched the finishes and I watched the entrances, but I never paid attention to like the inner workings because I was 12. And for some reason, people who are able to actually tell a story didn't matter to me. I just wanted to see Samoa Joe.
Yeah, 12-year-olds aren't work rate critics.
Yeah.
They're more bothered about the flashy finishes.
Exactly. You know, I want to see like Austin Aries doing like a bloody 450. You know, I want to see Samoa Joe do the Muscle Buster because it was like from Ultimate Muscle.
Yeah.
But now I go back and watch that stuff. I'm like, oh, I remember that. Why have I just underappreciated a lot of this stuff? But that moment with Shibata, it just like it captured me, and from that point on, I was like hooked. Like that hook was in my cheek, and I was being dragged along by the big boat of pro wrestling.
Hell yeah, man! So obviously, I'm presuming then Japan's a big goal for you.
Yeah, I actually, couple years back, and God rest his soul, Aoki-san, Atsushi Aoki, we was able to have a seminar by him. He came over to Scotland and he hosted it like a 4-day seminar, must have been, yeah, no, it was 4-day seminar, and it was unreal. Being a big fan of like, kind of like this Japanese wrestling, or like this, this former style. I saw the interview you did with Mike Bailey, and you were talking about like the different, the different styles of wrestling, lucha libre versus Japanese wrestling. Japanese wrestling just like, it just tickles my fancy. It's literally my old my warm cup of tea. But the intense training, it just like by day 4, I had a new appreciation because I'd been broken down. Like it was like forward rolls are such a basic concept, especially in like wrestling training. It's like maybe the second thing you would do in training. But by day 3, I'd been worked to my absolute core that I forward rolled and I couldn't get up. Like my body was not letting me like stand up, and it was just being able to get back there day 4 and show that I've got not only a strong body but a strong heart. It just kind of like it sat with me, and All Japan Wrestling recently had like an open kind of like student call that I had applied for, but unfortunately with the uncertain times in the global pandemic, they unfortunately closed for international. They closed for international students. So unfortunately, as much as I'd love to be over in Japan right now, getting reformed, getting broken down and then remade into like a T1000. But I hope, I'd like to manifest that one day, I may be able to get back to that point, or at least get over to Japan to train, to watch, just to kind of like just absorb myself around that style of wrestling and the mentality. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Gaia Girls documentary on YouTube.
I haven't seen it.
So it was from BBC, and it's all about like a classic like Joshi wrestling, and it shows Joshi wrestling is another level. As much as I like to think that I got worked down to the bone in these 4-day seminar, the students in Joshi wrestling, especially in the Gaia Girls, it's something else, because Joshi wrestling hits harder than like most other wrestling.
Yeah.
But the Gaia Girls documentary, I'd recommend watching the full thing, because there's that scene. I'm sure you might have seen like a clip of it online somewhere on Reddit, but it's the scene of like, I think it's Miko Satomura, and she's like getting this like trainee to drop kick her, and she's just like going off, and she's like, again, drop kick, and she's just not moving. She's like, again, drop kick me, come on, drop kick me. And then she like she's getting annoyed, whips her off, gives her like the hardest drop kick, and then she's like, why were you doing that? Why weren't you putting your all into it? Why weren't you trying to drop kick me? When you drop kick me, I'll sell it for you. Drop kick me with everything that you've got, and it's just
I've got to watch that.
Just watch him. Yeah, it's incredible. It's like some like 80s like stuff, but it just shows the intensity that these trainees go through.
We spoke to Masha Slamovich, who is currently in Japan. She's training with like Joshi wrestling and stuff, and she said it's one of the hardest thing. It is the hardest thing she's ever done. She's been there for a year now, and every day it's like, just for a warm-up, it'll be 1,000 squats, followed by 5 hours of ring conditioning. You go for a break for half an hour and come back and do like another 3 hours of ring conditioning every day. And you're waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, it sounds harder than military training, the Joshi style. But when you look at the end result, the product that comes out, the talents they produce are the best in the world. So it definitely pays off, right?
Literally, everyone's gagging for a piece of that like Japanese like commitment and work rate, because you look at the guys like Jay White, and like everyone's chomping at the bit when he's like, I can't do this anymore. I just need some help, and everyone's like, oh my God, is he quitting? It's like, would a guy who's invested so much of his time, has been brought from like a young guy in the British scene over to Japan to become one of their 4 pillars, one of their current 4 pillars. Like, it's just something that like sticks with you. I think it's absolutely unreal. And I say, yeah, I'm older than I should be to become a young lion, but I'm willing to put the time and effort in because it's just what I love.
Well, for a start, you're not old, and two, there's definitely been like people in their later 20s becoming young boys recently. Like especially from the UK scene, going over to the LA dojo and training in Japan as well. I don't really think there's not an age limit on being a young
LA
boy.
Dojo, like Gabe, like oh my god, like seeing that announcement actually had me in stitches. I was in tears. I was like, if there's someone who deserves it, it's him. You know.
Oh, he fits
I
so
was
well in
there.
that scene.
I was there. Was it a Red Pro when Shibata came out and invited him? Yeah, I was there, man. It was incredible. I'm with you on that 100%. But dude, you're young. It'll happen. I mean, you're saying you're old. How old are you?
I'm 25. I am like.
Oh, 25. Oh.
Oh no, but still, I'm getting into that kind of like DDP era.
No,
you know?
no, you're not, Ian. Right? I take issue with this. Right? If I was to become a wrestler now, I'm 32. Right? So if I was to become a wrestler now, what would you tell me? No, don't do it, mate.
Batista, what future world champ?
Right. Little side note: Batista was older than Triple H when he joined Evolution. I mean, he still is, but it was billed as he was being billed as the future.
He had that Benjamin Button disease,
Yeah.
Yeah. He was being billed as the future, and he was older than Triple H. Don't know why I had to mention that. I just always found it funny. But yeah, you're not old, mate. You're not old, is what I'm trying to say. You're not Batista. You're not DDP.
Like I said, dude, Callum.
Are you trying to say I'm not Batista?
I mean, you look enough like him.
I mean, yeah. Nah, dude, it'll happen. Like I said, Callum's 32. I'm almost 37. We're old. We're knackered. You'll do it, man. You'll do it. Follow those dreams.
A snapper, like whole life ahead of you.
Just take that Super Kicks jacket across with you.
Yeah.
Gotta plug it, man. I've got a shill, right? You get to shill at the end. I've got a shill throughout, all right? Which reminds me, if you go to manscaped.com and type in Ringsiders, you get 20% off.
Literally, Manscaped changed my life. I'm being honest. I'm not even like plugging. I got a Manscaped case because I'm like, okay, yeah, everyone's talking about it. I can't listen to a podcast without hearing about Manscaped. Oh, mate, especially if you're a wrestler, okay? Because people being like, oh, I'm gonna wear the long tights because I can't be arsed shaving my legs. Bruh, get Manscaped. You can be a trunks boy, you know?
Yeah.
Well, dude, in future, just type in promo code Ringsiders, you get 20% off.
Look,
there you go.
I'll be honest. When we first got the sponsorship, I was like, it's just a gimmick. Not going to actually be that good. They sent us the box of stuff, and I was like, all right, nice box. Hey, guess what? It was that razor is the best razor I've ever had. The ball deodorant, amazing. The crop, what's it called? The crop duster?
I can't remember. You got some good shit with it, man. We've got a t-shirt, boxer shorts.
I'm actually wearing the boxes right now.
Ball deodorant, ball cream.
Chafe-free boxes as well.
Chafe-free, yep. No chafing.
Honestly, I mean, it's the only razor I own. As you can tell, I don't bother with razors. But this one, for what it does, no complaints.
It's got a light on it as well. And you can use it underwater.
There you go. You can use it underwater. That's very true. Very true.
Now we've got that show out the way.
Type in Ringsiders on manscaped.com. 20% off. It's, back to Ian and.
we best talk about Ian.
We've touched on Japan. Let's obviously talk ICW. How did that come about? Obviously, ICW, one of the biggest UK promotions. It's still on my bucket list to get there, man, because I'm too lazy to drive to Scotland. But how did ICW come about for you?
Okay, I'm gonna try be okay. There's one part of this in which I don't sound humble, but I am really humble in regards to a lot of the opportunities that I get. Mainly for the simple fact that I don't understand why people just like me, so I'm like sick. So we had a seminar. I was doing a fringe show. So there's a whole thing. I was doing a fringe show. On the last day, we had like an announcement like a couple weeks. It was like there's a seminar with Mark Dallas, promoter of ICW, and I'm like, sweet guys, can you do the last day of the fringe show without me? They're like, cool. So I could have missed this seminar entirely. Do the seminar, I get put in a match. We do it in our gear on these mats in a scout hall, and I get the biggest compliment, and I still don't get it. I still don't get the compliment, but I got told that I was the best wrestler in that room that day, and I'm like, okay. Couple weeks down the line, I get a message on Twitter saying, "Hey, are you available to on this date for a show?" Heart absolutely like jumps out my throat. I'm like, "Yeah, certainly." Then ICW Gonzo is announced, and I'm like, oh, "Okay, so cool." So I'm like on the, the more, like more old school ICW feel. Like it's got that like no seats, BYOB, very kind of like closed environment. The matchups are kind of like they're all about kind of like just like the cool shit, I'm allowed to swear, right?
Yeah.
Swear away, dude.
Oh, cool. I'll get one out the way. Sheet. So I get invited to ICW Gonzo, and it's like a 6-man tag. Me, a guy called Dean Ford, and a guy called Darren Weiss. And we were kind of like all at that seminar. So we were kind of like maybe the standouts versus power forward who are like Mark Coffey's kind of like masked goons or whatever. And it was just like kind of like go out there, just show your stuff. And afterwards I got pulled aside. I'm like, yeah, you've got something. We're going to have you back at some point. Then a couple weeks down the line, I'm like, oh, are you available like next Sunday for France 2000, which is like the go home show? And I'm like, yeah, I'm available to do that. And it was me with Luca DePazzi. And
Luca.
that's kind of like the last thing I'd heard of him in a while until, the plans come about. I was just kind of like just waiting around, and then it comes to the end of this year, and I get a call saying, "Hey, we're doing kind of like no fan shows, closed door. Here's the kind of like safety protocols. Essentially do like, are you being checked? Are you being safe? If you're not, outdoor. But if you're all safe and you're all like appeal to these like codes of conduct and guidelines, then you're free to do it." I'm like, super. And yeah, we've been doing tapings ever since. And then I think it's maybe even like the second taping in, or even like the first one, in which it's like obviously going up the network. I'm like, oh, cool. ICW's got stuff on the network, so like, is it going to be like in like next year or something where it's coming out? And they're like, oh no, it'll be in a couple months. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess they might cut me out or like put in like a CGI Yoda, in my place. Just like, he's getting big booted off. I'm like, and then it comes out, and then flabbergasted. Really, I still don't think it. I don't believe it. Still think I'm just gonna wake up at one point and it's just gonna be like, well, guess what? It's all Ashton Kutcher. He's back. He's gonna come out. Like, oh, mate, you should have seen. There's a camera there. There's a camera there. There's a camera there.
I was going to say it must be surreal just to be on the WWE Network, because as a wrestling fan, you're on the WWE Network. People are typing your name. We actually had Luca DePazzi on last week, and we said the same thing to him.
I'm actually doing it right now. I was just typing in Ian Skinner on the network because I'm such a mark.
I can type in Ian Skinner. I mean, your name's going to come up with those guys.
It's the weirdest thing, because my first appearance on the WWE Network is me in a sworn-in like hoodie, just like doing the. I don't know what my promo style is. I've been told I have grime energy. Like if you just put a beat underneath me, yeah, because I do a lot of like ba 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 ba. Literally put a beat underneath me.
That yeah, that I can see the grime energy from that little rendition you just did. Yeah. I mean, yeah, is there any influence from like that kind of grimy scene on your character?
I don't know what my character is.
Because
I
think
just
when I
just
first
go
saw
out.
you on Twitter, I was like, okay, he might be one of those like chavvy characters where like he's really good in the ring, but you kind of want to punch him because he's a chav or something. But then I started watching you and I was like, I don't really. It's not a chav, but. And then you said you like Slipknot, so now I'm really confused.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know what the character is. The character's just listen. I've just like this is the thing. Wrestling's gone to me like, hey, you can be anyone you want. You can be any character. You like comics. You could be like Nightwing. You could be like Brad Pitt from Fight Club. And I'm like, I want to be a guy with ADHD. And wrestling's like, wait, no. And I'm like, too late. Fuck off. Me.
Look at this, Ian. Well, I say look at this. You can't see my screen, but I typed in Ian Skinner on the WWE Network, and lo and behold, it's packed full of Ian Skinner stuff on the actual WWE Network.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's you. I'm talking to him right now.
That's me. That's him. My mates do that all the time when I'm like, hey, do you want to watch my matches? And just like, they're like, oh, that looks like you. I'm like, just appreciate me.
But how much of a flex is it when someone says, oh, can you show us any of the matches you've done? And you go, yeah, if you just go on WWE Network, type in Ian Skinner. Sorry, what?
Yeah. No, I'd never do that because people will go, wow, he's a bit of an arsehole, isn't he?
Yeah, but an arsehole who's on the WWE Network.
I mean, he's talented, but come on.
I tell you what as well, actually, while we're talking, you mentioned, obviously, we spoke to Luca DePazzi last week. I know you've worked with Luca. What was it like working with Luca? Obviously, he's come over from Italy. He's a lovely guy. We absolutely love speaking to him. What was it like for you working with him?
Oh, it was, oh, mate, his chops, underrated. I don't know why he hasn't got a chop-based offense. Like, literally, I left like bloody handprints on there. He's got hands like bloody pizza. It'd be a good joke if I knew what the word was. You know, like the pizza. Pizza
what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. The old.
What they're called though?
Pizza shovel.
Yeah, shovel.
Pizza shovel. Yeah.
Pizza
shovel. Yeah, it's got hands like pizza shovels. He's lovely. I hate him. Because his character's such a just yeah. Luca's nice, but Luca DePazzi's just I just want to punch him in the face. Like, why are you wearing a scarf? You're not wearing anything else.
Hey, Callum, you heard that first, right? We're getting the rivalry going up again, all right?
Yeah.
So you get that in.
Yeah, I don't care if he's like bloody six whatever. I'll bite his kneecaps if I have to. Swear down. I'll take his leg. I'll look in a heel hook and I'll tap him out. I swear down. If he ever comes for me again, I'm gonna knock his teeth in.
Well, why don't we get you both on the show one day? We'll get Luca DePazzi and Ian Skinner on the show, and maybe you can discuss your problems on the show.
You see, it's like it'll just be me chatting over him because he's just such a how do you say like he's just like chill. He's like, and that's what annoys me more. I'm like, oh, stop being so smug.
He knows what he's doing, Ian. He knows how to get under your skin.
But you know, he makes good trunks. Like Luca, the guy, makes good gear. Like literally, I can go to him with any idea and be like, "Hey, here's an idea. I just want to be Robin," and he's like, "Cool." And he makes it. He doesn't just say cool. He makes it as well.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've set up a renewal of the rivalry there, Carl. We're gonna have to instigate this a bit more.
That's what we do on Ringside. Is we just stare shit. We just create feuds, stare shit, And that's it, really.
Basically, that's it. Yeah, we that's what we do. Before we'll before we wrap up at some point as well, because we don't want to blow our load in one. We like to bring our guests back. What's the? You mentioned Japan. Obviously, the pandemic's running rife at the minute. Is there a plan for 2021? If the world opens up, which we're hoping it will.
So I'll kind of talk about my 2020 plans, and because they're kind of like cool. This is what I wanted to do, and until everything opens up again, that's still what I want to do. So ideally, I want to get down to England a lot more. There's so many promotions. You mentioned it previously. Like, there's near enough a promotion in every city now. So I want to kind of like get down there, because I've kind of like, I've got like feedback from a couple of people down in England, and I'm like, I've been offered to kind of like go train with certain people down in England. I'm like, oh, cool, yeah, I want to like get down there, see the sights, see the towns, learn the different, the people that are down there, because they've got so many amazing workers. Scotland's just like a little part of what the British wrestling scene is, and it's massive. But now you've got like the rest of it there. So I'd love to work with so many people down there. Obviously, the Young Guns, they're great. Big Guns Joe, Ridgeway, and that's even just like, that's just the north.
Yeah.
It just keeps going down. There's just more names keep cropping up all over the shop there. As well, I'd love to get back over to Ireland. I luckily was able to get over to Ireland just before everything closed up to train with Fight Factory Pro. So getting back over to Ireland, working with some of the great talents over there as well. And then one of my plans was WXW in Germany. But I think that's maybe in the long distant future, because not only do we have to get out of the UK into the EU, stay there with like, I don't know how that's going to all work out with like traveling, or whether it's a holiday or whatever. There's so many places. Italy, I'd love to work. There's Scandi Graps. I know you guys have been speaking to a couple of people at Body Slammers. There's FCF. So many like companies over there. Ideally, I'd love to go to America at some point, but I think that's maybe like, I think I can think in distances and then just like work my way to wider until I've got like a nice old network. And I just want to just meet people, chat about wrestling, because that's we all love it. At the end of the day, that's what we're there to do. We're just there. Well, we're there to wrestle, but to chat about it is like, it's even better.
Of course, you're still a wrestling fan at the end of the day, first and foremost, aren't you? It's why you're doing it.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, dude, we don't have to do a podcast to chat wrestling. You want to Skype me and Callum anytime and chat shit, you know where we are, right? It's as simple as that.
Well, I mean, you don't want to hear me speak about wrestling, because, for example, I fantasy booked a bit of wrestling the other. It's over Wrestle Kingdom. I did a bit of fantasy booking, so I'll share that with yourselves. So it's how Okada, like this. We'll get to it. So Okada wins the world title. Amazing. He's got the double belts. Ishii comes out and goes, "Bruh, mind the time I beat you. You've been chill for so long because it was just like one belt. Now it's two. I just like to cash in my beat the champ at the G1, get a championship match." Okada's like, "Fair. Would it be cool if it's for the IC belt?" Ishii's like, "Yeah, whatever." Match with Ishii happens. Ishii wins. Okada's like, "Here, mate, have the world belt. I'll keep the IC belt." Ishii cries, "Oh my God, he's won the world belt." The belts are split. Ishii wins the title that isn't the Never Openweight title, and all is right with the world. Then Ashton Kutcher comes out and starts dapping people up and says, "Just a prank, bro. You're on popular television show, punked." Ishii cries again. Ashton Kutcher comes out and he's like, "No, learn to take a joke, dog." And then CM Punk comes out, and then Ashton Kutcher goes, "Nah, no, Punk, not you, not you." Ishii cries. Red Shoes does that face with his hands on his hips where he goes. Then Roman Reigns pulls Ishii in for a hug and says, "You're the real big dog now."
That was a roller coaster,
like,
Ian.
So if you guys want to, like, if there's anyone watching this and they're like, oh, we need someone to book a show.
Also, if that happens next year at Wrestle Kingdom, we know where they got the fucking idea. First of all, love the idea of Ishii going, bruh. That's brilliant. I mean, that's brilliant, Ian. I can't say I can top that. I don't think anyone could top that. And I like the idea of it all being a big setup just for a Punk joke. But also like CM Punk coming out and they're going, no. And he just walks to the back. No one ever knows.
Everyone's just...
Yeah.
Do you feel like...
He was there.
I think us three are going to be the three guys who make Ashton Kutcher relevant again. I think it's going to happen.
I don't know. What's he done recently apart from be Steve Jobs and then be actual Steve Jobs because he started working with Lenovo? Has he not been doing some environmental stuff?
There's a
Sounds
show,
about right.
There's a show on Netflix called The Ranch, which is actually really good. But apart from that, I can't tell you what he's done since then.
Probably environment stuff.
Yeah. I'm sure he's been doing something like really good, and it's a shame that all we'll ever remember him for is that time he punked Ishii and made him cry.
Yeah, but what a punked it was! It arguably the best episode.
Mate, that was my favorite episode. Yeah. Oh,
Callum, for the love of God, though, when we release this interview, tag Ashton Kutcher in it.
Oh, I will. Just on the off chance we get a sweet retweet, this becomes our most successful episode of all time. And then we make Ian a regular on the show.
And then we get invited onto Punk'd, and then it's all full circle.
Perfect.
Bro.
What Ian just realised is Ashton Kutcher's actually to the left of Callum right now, isn't he, Callum? He's about to come on.
Is he here the whole time, Ian?
It's not,
There's a camera
it's
over
not
here.
even an interview.
Oh, dude. Seriously, man. Come back anytime you want, for starters. Even without doing a podcast, dude, just Skype us and we'll have a chat and we'll watch some
you
wrestling.
are a funny dude. Which I'm sure you've been told many times.
No, people call me annoying. But I find myself funny, so that's all that really matters at the end of the day. I think that's one of the, maybe I'm notorious for being I just say a bunch of weird shit. For example, I want to book a federation that's APPW, Austin Powers Pro Wrestling. So the main event is Austin Powers versus Dr. Evil. And then Mini does he does the swerve, and then he turns, Anyway, I can get into that later, but that's
episode 2 right there. Don't give that away for free.
Dude, I love your mind, man. I want to spend a day in your mind. It's incredible. It really is.
How much wrestling did we talk about in this? Because I'm sure it's been about an hour and we've gone maybe like 20 minutes where it's like, oh, Japanese wrestling's cool. ICW was weird. It came out of nowhere.
Doing the thumbnail and the YouTube title for this is going to be challenging. Usually I put the wrestling topics in there. So I'll be like, Ian Skinner talks Japan.
Austin Powers.
And
Ashton Kutcher. Ishii's title win.
Yeah. That's
it's
great.
It literally, like, people will be like, what? Is this like an April Fool's Ringsiders edition kind of thing? And it's like, no, this is actually the interview.
But that's a great clickbait, though. Yeah. Ian Skinner talks Ishii winning the IWGP Championship. People are like, what the fuck? No, he didn't. Click.
Exactly. This is why we do it, man, because we like to have fun. There's so many people out there that take it way too seriously. It's about having fun, man. That's why we do it. And this has been fun. And you should come back anytime, man. I want more booking scenarios from you. I want the lot, man. Seriously. You should be a regular. We'll do some watch-alongs and we'll release it. We'll get drunk and do watch-alongs, all right?
See, I don't drink. So I stay in this natural state of just high, #pure energy, because I weigh in 169 pounds of pure energy. Don't look at the monster I'm drinking.
I don't
it has
drink
nothing
either.
to do with that.
Dude,
Hey.
Callum doesn't drink, and Callum just drinks Monster. So you two just drink your energy drinks. I'll crack open a bottle of whiskey.
How good?
We'll do wrestling.
How good is the mango Monster? Have you tried it?
See, I'm on the ultra stuff. Like, I don't know if the mango is. Oh no, like Monster Ultra, so it's like ultra black.
Okay.
There's ultra white, ultra green, ultra blue. I think the mango not the orange one or is the pink one?
Yeah, the mango one's the one with the sugar skulls on the front.
Ooh, not sure if I've tried it, but that's going in the recommendations. Most people get recommendations for like, oh, I'll watch this film or I'll listen to this song. Nah, energy drink recommendations.
Yes,
that's like top tier.
I can't believe that we're now talking energy drinks. Let's do that. You two have your energy drinks. I'll crack open a bottle of whiskey. We'll watch some wrestling. We'll record it. We'll throw it out to the podcast universe, and we'll rock and roll. We will rock and roll. But Ian, we have to leave it there because we want to bring you back. But before we do, tell everybody where they can find you, your social medias, any affiliates that you have, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, I think we've already covered that. You know, I've got to get my shit in a little bit. You know, I'm like Brian Cage and PWG. That's not a shoot. That was the gimmick. I'm not Brian Cage. He could eat me.
It was on his attire. He used to have it on his trunks. Get your shit in.
Yeah. So if anyone's watching this, Ian Skinner, Heat with Brian Cage, and Brian Cage is like, dude, what? Why? And I'm like, it's just a prank, bro.
Well, it's also the YouTube title now, so thanks.
Ian Skinner talks Ishii winning the heavyweight championship and Heat with Brian Cage. Yeah. Anyway, tangents, really bad for them. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Ian Skinner PW. The PW stands for The Price is Right. Can't spell either. No, it obviously stands for pro wrestling. Right now on my Instagram, I'm getting designs made for like t-shirts right now. I like some deathcore stuff because I love like Chelsea Grin, Whitechapel, like that old stuff. But I'm not sure about releasing it yet. So depending on when this comes out, check if it has been released. Because I don't want to like release them at the height of the pandemic when like money is tight for everyone. But I also want to release t-shirts that I think are cool. I'll leave you on some notes because I had these shower thoughts written down and I thought, you know, it'd be a waste if I didn't have them. First off, do you guys know what time Mike Knox is? He's 10:15 because that's his old pose. That's an OSW reference.
I do watch OSW.
Yeah.
But I don't get. Okay.
How did they invent sherbet? Like who said, "Oh, I want sugar but spicy"?
Tough crowd.
Isn't it crazy how Borat was a satire, but people took it at face value and then became racist? Do progressive metal bands write songs because that's how they like to write songs? Or do they write songs because they just want to be like needlessly like progressive? Like, oh, no one's going to know how to do this. And I think the Nazi Zombies match, Shino Numa, is like criminally underrated. You know, Doris is good, but Shino Numa was sick.
That might be one of the best endings we've had to a podcast. Usually we just go, oh, we're ringsiders, and this is Ian Skinner. I like that you've left something for people to think about, Ian.
Yeah. Just end the recording now because that was perfect.